It's 10:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. To any casual observer, you are the picture of professional composure. You're sitting at a sleek ergonomic desk, steam rising from a ceramic mug, dual 4K monitors casting a soft glow against your face. You offer a practiced, polite nod to a colleague gliding past. But beneath this thin veneer of corporate normalcy, a violent internal storm is gathering. The acoustic environment is a battlefield. Behind you, a coworker's mechanical keyboard clicks with the relentless rhythm of a snare drum. To your left, a group is whiteboarding a concept, their laughter punctuating the air like physical jolts to your nervous system. Even the ceiling is hostile. The industrial-grade fluorescent lights hum at a jagged, high-frequency pitch that seems to vibrate behind your eyes. Suddenly, a Slack notification pings. Then another. A teammate leans over your shoulder with a quick question, effectively shattering the fragile glass cathedral of focus you've spent 40 minutes building. You look around. Your colleagues seem entirely unaffected. They are energized by the buzz, thriving in the friction. Meanwhile, your heart rate is climbing, your palms are damp, and you feel a bone-deep exhaustion beginning to settle in before lunch has even arrived. When the world breezes past the chaos and you feel crushed by it, the narrative becomes one of personal failure. You ask yourself, am I too fragile? Was I a mistake in the manufacturing line of the modern workforce? If you have spent your career apologizing for your thin skin, I am here to tell you that your self-diagnosis is wrong. You aren't weak. You are biologically specialized. You belong to the 20% of the population with sensory processing sensitivity, SPS. In the language of biology, you are an orchid. Today, we dismantle the office shame and rewire your career for high-performance realism. To master your environment, you must first understand your hardware. This isn't a vibe or a personality quirk. It is a distinct neurobiological configuration. Imagine the human brain as a camera sensor. Most people, roughly 80% of the population, are dandelions. They record the world in standard definition, perhaps 720p. It is an efficient, low-energy way to process reality. They filter out the background noise, the flickering lights, and the subtle shift in a manager's tone, because that data isn't essential for the task at hand. Dandelions can grow anywhere because they simply don't see the cracks in the sidewalk. But your brain is a high-speed 8K red cinema camera. You possess a neurological trait called low latent inhibition. While the average brain is a master of ignoring 90% of incoming stimuli, to conserve glucose, your brain treats everything as high-priority data. The texture of your polyester blend chair, the faint scent of ozone from the printer, the micro-expressions of a disappointed CEO, it is all being recorded in vivid, uncompressed detail. This is best explained by Dr. Elaine Aron's DOS model, the gold standard for understanding the Orchid hardware. D, depth of processing. You do not merely observe, you simulate. When a task enters your inbox, your brain automatically runs 1,000 permutations of potential outcomes. You engage in deep semantic encoding, weaving new information into a massive web of past experiences. This makes you a visionary, but it burns through your metabolic RAM by noon. Oh, overstimulation? What a dandelion calls collaboration? Your nervous system registers as acoustic and visual overload. Your brain is working overtime to suppress background signals that others don't even perceive. This is biological labor, and it is exhausting. E, emotional reactivity. Your mirror neurons are on a hair trigger. You don't just notice a coworker is stressed. Your brain literally replicates their cortisol spike in your own bloodstream. You are an emotional sponge in a world of constant spills. S, sensing the subtle. You pick up on the vibe of a meeting before a single word is spoken. You notice the 1 decimal point out of place in a 50-page spread. This is high-level computational power that cannot be turned off. A common question arises. If being sensitive is so painful, why didn't evolution kill it off? Natural selection is brutal. It discards traits that don't offer a survival advantage. The orchid trait has survived because the tribe needed a vanguard of awareness. In our ancestral past, the dandelion warriors were essential. They were the ones who could hunt in the heat, fight in the noise, and take risks without being paralyzed by what-ifs. But a tribe of only dandelions would perish. They would walk into a canyon without noticing the silence of the birds or the scent of an approaching storm. They needed the royal advisors, the sensitive ones who could sense the shift in the wind or detect the subtle lie in a rival chieftain's voice. Your weakness is actually a sophisticated early warning system. The problem is an evolutionary mismatch. Your biology was forged for a high-stakes, low-velocity world. A quiet forest where noticing a snapping twig meant the difference between life and death. Today, you are forced into a high-velocity, low-meaning world of open-plan offices and pinging smartphones. Your engine is redlining just to keep the lights on. However, there is a scientific silver lining: vantage sensitivity. Research shows that while orchids suffer more in harsh environments, they actually outperform everyone else when placed in a supportive greenhouse. When the conditions are right, your ability to process complexity becomes a massive competitive advantage. You don't just do the job, you see the job in 8K. Orchids often struggle with career paralysis because you see the depth in everything. You fear that choosing one path means abandoning your soul. Society tells you to be an I-shaped professional, a deep specialist in one narrow vertical. But that model is built for kind learning environments where rules are fixed. The modern economy is a wicked environment. Rules change daily. AI is automating narrow specializations. This is where the orchid shines as an M-shaped professional. You aren't just a data scientist or a writer. You have multiple legs of deep expertise. Your hardware allows for far transfer, the rare ability to take a structural insight from one field, like the rhythm of music, and apply it to a completely different field, like the architecture of a software backend. Those random hobbies you've collected, the gardening, the obscure history, the coding, aren't distractions. They are the metaphors you use to solve problems that dandelions can't even see. You aren't a jack of all trades, you are a synthesizer. Since you cannot always quit your job to work in a mountain cabin, you must engage in job crafting. You are not changing your personality. You are adjusting the parameters of your greenhouse to prevent your hardware from overheating. Noise-canceling headphones, as PPE. Treat your headphones as personal protective equipment, no different than a hard hat on a construction site. They are the firewall between your sensitive internal processors and the external chaos. The restorative niche: identify a third space, a quiet stairwell, a parked car, or a library corner. When the sensory fog starts to rise, do not push through it. Pushing through leads to a cognitive crash. Take 5 minutes to let your system idle. The focus block protocol: orchids aren't killed by volume, they are killed by fragmentation. Set a boundary: from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock, my Slack is off. I am in deep work. Frame this to your boss not as a need for quiet, but as a commitment to high fidelity output. The JAD firewall, when protecting your energy, never justify, argue, defend, or explain. If you say, I can't come to the loud happy hour because I'm tired, you've given people a reason to fix you. Use the power of the period. I won't be able to make it tonight. The pause protocol: because you feel others' emotions, you are prone to people-pleasing as a survival mechanism. Use the shield. Let me check my schedule and get back to you. This gives your prefrontal cortex time to override the emotional impulse to say yes to a burnout-inducing task. The world does not need you to be thicker-skinned. We have enough numbness. We have enough people who can walk through a storm without feeling the rain. What the world desperately needs are people who can see the world in 8K. We need the synthesizers, the empaths, and the royal advisors who can spot the storm before it hits the company's bottom line. You are not too much. You are a high-performance engine that requires a specific grade of fuel and a specific cooling system. Start today. Pick one protocol, maybe it's the headphones, or maybe it's the pause protocol, and run it for 2 weeks. You are the architect of your own greenhouse. When you stop apologizing for your sensitivity and start optimizing for it, you don't just survive, you become the most valuable person in the room. If you're ready to stop the office shame, I've put together a resource called the HSP Career Survival Guide. It includes a manipulation pattern checklist to help you identify when your empathy is being weaponized against you. Download it at the link below. For more deep dives into the neuroscience of being different, subscribe to An Ordinary Mind. And if you want to understand the science behind emotional sweating, why we cry during conflict even when we aren't sad, watch this video right here. Thanks for watching. Protect your light. I'll see you in the next one.